Bayes classification. So Bayes classification is also a supervised technique where it has a label. So what do you mean by supervised learning technique? So whenever you have a class label or a decision attribute associated with your data set, it can be said as supervised learning technique. So this is a supervised learning technique, and it is also a statistical technique because it is based upon probabilistic model. So how many of you are comfortable with probability? At least the basics. So it is very important in order to know the probability in order to solve any problem on your Bayesian classification or Bayesian theorem. So in order to do any classification based on Bayes classification, what we can do is, since it is a statistical method for classification and it is based upon probability, so based upon the probability, the outcome or the the decision is purely dependent upon its probability. So it is one of the class where your decision or results are obtained by the probability of each of the attribute. So where can we use it? You can use it to solve any diagnostic or prediction problems. This was proposed by Thomas Bayes in 1702, and the modification of this was done in 1761. So here you have to learn about a Bayes theorem in order to apply your Bayesian classification to the data. So it is used in many learning algorithms. It is based upon two things, that is, one is hypothesis and one is probability. So what is hypothesis? Hypothesis can be an assumption made. Probability is you will assign a value or how probable that particular event can occur. So based upon the probability and the hypothesis, you will come up with the outcome or decision. So what I thought is, today I will revise some of the concepts of probability and we will see about Bayes theorem. Probably in next class, we will go ahead with Bayesian classification. Because it is purely a statistical model, the maths behind that is probability. So we will discuss about each of the conditions of your Bayes theorem. Once you know that, it will be helpful for you to apply it for your Bayesian classification. So what are the applications? So it can be used in text classification or spam filtering, or it can also be used in any recommender system for that matter. What is text classification? So if you want to classify the text based upon, say, parts of speech, or you want to classify it based upon whether it is a positive word or a negative word. For example, your good is a positive word, bad is a negative word. What do you mean by not good? It's a neutral word, right? Similarly, your text classification can be used to classify your words in a particular document. Spam filtering, as many of you know, in your emails you can get spam. So your Navy Bayes classifier can be used to filter out only the spams. So it can be a movie recommender system or a book recommender system. Based upon any recommender system, your Navy Bayes classifier works very well as it uses the concept of collaborative filtering. So these three are the applications, the widely used applications of your Navy Bayes classifier are, it is used in text classification, spam filtering, or recommender system. So in order to understand your Bayesian classification, you should know Bayes theorem. So your Bayes theorem is dependent upon these terms. So you say an event has to be independent. So each and every, instead of saying attribute, because I am explaining the Bayes theorem, I say each attribute can be termed as event. So the first rule for your Bayes theorem is your event should be independent of each other. Second is your event should be having conditional probability. Third feature is it should be having conditional independence and maximum likelihood. Guys, you are able to follow? So Bayesian classification is also a supervised classification. It will be having label. It is a statistical model which is purely based upon probability. Okay. So in order to understand more about statistic and probability and also what is used in probability, we will first learn what is Bayes theorem, and your Bayes theorem is based upon this 4 condition. That is, each event has to be independent, and if there are n number of events, event should be conditionally probable and it has to be conditionally independent. And the last and the important factor in your Bayes theorem is maximum likelihood. By using this maximum likelihood hypothesis only, we will be evaluating probability of each event. You are able to follow? Yeah. So first we'll see what this each term is about. So the first factor for your Bayes theorem is independent or independence. So you say a particular event is independent when it will not affect the result of other. So example can be rolling of die. Can you predict the probability of getting 14 as a count whenever you roll a die? So 2 dice are rolled simultaneously here. So what you are trying to do is you are trying to find the sum of the each dice. So the sum is 14. So what is the probability of getting number 14 when 2 rolls are rolled simultaneously, or what is the probability of getting heads when 2 coins are tossed simultaneously, or what is the probability of getting the red marble irrespective of how many times you draw a marble out of the jar. So in this case, you say these are independent, right? Why it is independent? Because you may not know how many times head may appear in your coin. Similarly, even here this is not assured. Every time I draw a marble out of this jar, I cannot assure each time the marble drawn is red. Similarly, whenever I roll 2 dice, I may not know whether each roll is dependent. It may not be dependent, right? See, for example, here the value is 6 and the value is 3, 9. But we are trying to find out probability of rolling a 14 as the outcome whenever this dice are rolled. So in this each of the example, each activity is independent of each other. So each of this can be termed as an event. In your probability, each of this is termed as event. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to find out whether there is any dependency between 2 events. So for Bayes theorem, the first rule is the event should be independent of each other. So what do you mean by that? There should not be any dependency between each of the events. So I'll take one example. See here, suppose there are 2 events, M and S. M and S are the event, and Manuela is a teacher who teaches the class. If she doesn't take, then Andrew will take the class, and S is an event about the weather, which says it is sunny. So these 2 events are not dependent on each other, right? One is on weather, one is on teacher. So in this case, now I'm trying to predict whether the sunshine level depend upon the teacher who is teaching, whether will it influence upon the teaching. So in this case, these two events are totally independent of each other, right? As the common sense or using your knowledge, you can say the sunshine level do not depend or do not influence teaching of a teacher. So, but can we solve this using probability? Yes, we can. So depending upon this, these two events can be termed as A and B, and based upon this, you will come up with probability of each. When the probability is nearing to 0, it means that this particular hypothesis, see, this is the hypothesis, this is your assumption, but using the statistical proof, you can prove this assumption is wrong whenever this gets evaluated to false. If in case, if it gets evaluated to true, then you say, okay, this assumption is true. So this is the first feature of your Bayes theorem, that is, whatever events you are taking, it has to be independent of each other. Second is conditional probability. So in order to explain about conditional probability, I have taken two examples here. So what is the probability of rolling a dice and its value is less than 4? So here I am trying to check the probability of a die whose value is less than 4. Suppose I want to check the impact of B upon A. So in that case, what I have to do, I have to take only the value B, that is, which is encircled in blue. So this is your Venn diagram, right? This is the Venn diagram of the event A of B. This is the common part or the intersection of two events, right? So based upon this, if I just want to know the probability of B with respect to A, what I can do, this is the common part. So I can say probability of A intersection B divided by probability of A will give me only the probability with respect to an independent event B, right? How we found out the probability of B is nothing but, why we have to divide this intersection part? Because this is the common part between probability of A and probability of B. In the version space, this particular shaded area is been shared by both event A and B, right? So if I want to check only the probability of the B, or through your Venn diagram, how can I get only B? So it is A minus B, right? Or it can also be written as intersection of this divided by A will give me the part only which constitutes B. You're able to follow? So this is called as conditional probability. So in conditional probability, what you are trying to derive? I'm trying to derive what is the probability of B with respect to A. So this can be derived by saying P of A intersection B divided by P of A. So what I'm trying to do, I'm removing the common area as well as the probability of A in order to derive what is the probability of B. So I can take up one more example here. We have two independent events, that is H and F. H is a symptom where having a headache is one symptom and coming down with flu is one more symptom. So these two are independent events. So now if I say the probability of H is 1 by 10 and probability of F is 1 by 40, and I want to find out probability of H over F, what you will do? Probability of H over F is nothing but H intersection F, that is this area, divided by probability of F will give me probability of H with respect to F, right? So this is called as conditional probability. So what you are trying to do? You are trying to find the probability of one event depending upon one condition. The condition is your, what is the condition here? the individual probability. Here, if I mean probability of H, this is only the area which belongs to H, excluding your intersection area as well as the other event. So in this case, the conditional probability of H should be P of H with respect to F is nothing but it is H intersection F divided by probability of F. You're able to follow? Did you understand what do you mean by event has to be independent and what is conditional probability? Or should I simplify it? Was it okay? Okay. So this is your conditional probability. What you should know is the formula to get the conditional probability is intersection divided by whatever is there in the denominator. If I'm saying probability of A by B, what will be my answer? What will be the answer? Here I'm trying to find out probability of B with respect to A. If I want probability of A with respect to B, what I have to do? The intersection area should be divided by probability of B, right? Correct. So it has to be divided by probability of B. Don't feel this topic is difficult. I'll try to simplify it as far as possible. So based upon this, you know, whatever two events, for example, I want to find out probability of two events. This two events should be independent of each other. And if in case this two independent event has something in common, in order to get the probability of a particular event, what you should know? You should know the formula of conditional probability. So the conditional probability of a particular event is whatever event is there in your numerator that you are trying to find out that particular probability. So this has to be read as probability of B with respect to A. It is given as the intersection area, that is probability of A intersection B divided by probability of A. So next is conditional independence. So if you have taken AI in the elective, I guess we have already discussed this particular example. So based upon that, if you want to apply a base condition here, the third condition is conditional independence. So what do you mean by conditional independence is, suppose I want to find out how many patients has cancer. In that case, one of the cause for cancer can be smoking. So in this case, smoking is an primary attribute which will lead to this particular condition called cancer. But does this have effects or influence from age and gender? It may or may not be, right? This is independent of your age and gender, but this is purely dependent on your smoking, right? This is one of the habit. So based upon this, if you want to apply the rule of conditional independence, I will derive the cause and effect. So what is the cause and what is the effect? So cause, if I take this particular attribute, that is smoking, if I say what can be the cause of this? So in this case, your age and gender may not be the cause, right? So clearly I can say this particular attribute has nothing to do with this particular effect. So what I can do, this is independent for the next attribute, but it may or may not influence about this effect. Similarly, if I say cancer, I know the cause for this is smoking, but what is the, the attribute age and gender contributes to cancer? It may not, right? It is not directly influencing the effect here. So what you can do in this case, this particular attributes can be removed. So this is called as conditional independence. So if I'm using smoking, then this may require. But whenever I'm trying to find out probability of cancer, what I require is the cause of this. The cause of this is smoking. So this probability of smoking will matter more when compared to the probability of age and probability of gender. So according to the conditional independence, I can clearly say that cancer is dependent upon its cause, that is smoking, but not on the age factor or the gender of the patient. So this is called as conditional independence. So this is same as whatever we have derived. So your conditional independence is nothing but that is your intersection part. So if you want to find out A intersection B from the previous slide formula, you can cross multiply and say the probability of A intersection B is nothing but probability of B intersection A or A intersection B into your PA or PB. That is your probability of A or probability of B. So this process of getting the conditional independence of the values are said to be applying a chain rule. So by applying this particular chain rule, you can say this particular factor is dependent on only this, but not on age and gender. So if you take this to A, B with respect to C, so what are common between A, B and C? A, B and C. The common thing can be got by A intersection B intersection C. From this you are trying to get the probability of A and B with respect to C. In this case, assume A is age, B is gender and C is smoking. So if I want to know probability of only the smoking, what I can do is I can apply the chain rule for the formula that I've got from the previous slide. That is from your conditional probability. What I can do is I can apply this particular chain rule formula and I can derive that P of AC and P of BC. So what you can get from this, you can say age will contribute to the probability of smoking, age will contribute to the probability, gender will contribute to the cause smoking, but it may not contribute to cancer. That is what you have proved here. So what you should know is conditional independence means which attribute may not contribute to the probability of that particular event is what is known as conditional independence. Next is maximum likelihood hypothesis. So in maximum likelihood hypothesis, if you have say n tuples in your data set, which may belongs to m number of classes, if you want to maximize the probability of the value, it is called as maximum likelihood hypothesis. For example, we'll take the previous data set only. For example, a person is say 35 years old and he earns $50,000. Will he be able to buy computer or not is what you are trying to find. So in this case, based upon this, what you can do, you can find out the probability of that particular person. If this probability is nearing to 1, it means that he will buy the computer. If it is 0, the outcome is 0, then it means that he may not buy the computer. So based upon this, it is called as maximum likelihood hypothesis. So here what you are trying to do is your likelihood, you have to find out the probability in such a way that the probability value is nearing to 1. If it is nearing to 1, it means that the decision is yes. If it is nearing to 0, it means that decision is no. Because probability can range with only 0 to 1, right? If you have the minimum probability, then the decision is no. If it is nearer to the maximum probability, that is 1, then the decision will be yes. So with this background, we will try to solve problems on Bayes theorem. So now I will go to the theorem. So in Bayes theorem, there are two probabilities that you have to find. One is called as posterior probability. Another one is called as prior probability. For example, assume that X is a data sample. So what do you mean by data sample? You have say 10 number of entries in your data set. You are taking only one entry out of that and you are naming it as X. So that is the data sample or evidence. For example, if you have a data set, I'm taking only one row out of it and that is called as your evidence. So this evidence is taken where class label is unknown. So this is the test part. You don't know to which class that particular evidence belong to. Based upon probability, you are trying to find out to which class that particular evidence will belong to. So what you will do in Bayes theorem, you will come up with some hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but assumption. For example, if I say there are two classes C1 and C2 or C and D, I will say this evidence X will belongs to class C. This is not actual. You are assuming. So you are saying the hypothesis is X will belong to class C. Now what you will do using the statistical inference, you will find out the probability of X with respect to H. H is your hypothesis. And if this probability turns out to be 1, it means that whatever assumption that you have made is true. In that case, X will belongs to C. If the value is nearing to 0, what it means? X belongs to class D and not C. So how you will determine this? So to determine this, you will find out probability of H with respect to X. So this is called as posterior probability. So what do you mean by posterior probability is the probability of hypothesis that is got from the observed data is called as your posterior probability. That is, prior probability means initial probability. Whatever you assume is the initial probability. See here, if you take this hypothesis, I'm saying X belongs to C. When will I say X belongs to C? When the probability of X with respect to C is 1. So I'm assuming that X belongs to C. This is called as your prior probability. That is, before going into the sample and evaluating, you are assuming something. This probability that you are assuming, in this case, your probability of X will be 1 with respect to C because you are saying X will belongs to C. This is called as your prior probability. So what we will determine is called as your posterior probability. So we are dealing with two types of probability. Prior probability is your assumed probability. So this can take two values, 0 or 1. You are either saying it will belongs to class or it will not belongs to class. That is your prior probability. Posterior probability is what you determine by applying statistical inference to it. That is called as your posterior probability. So by getting the posterior probability and prior probability, you will find out what is the maximum likelihood of that event. So if the maximum likelihood of event is belonging to one particular class, from that you can say this particular evidence or the data sample I have taken will belong to this class. This is the basis of your Bayesian theorem, or it can also be termed as Bayes theorem. So note down this formula. According to the Bayes theorem, in order to find out probability of H with respect to X, what you are doing is you are multiplying your likelihood. This is your likelihood with the prior probability that you have found out with respect to the evidence. In this case, your PH is the prior probability. PX is the probability of the evidence because X is evidence, right? Your X is evidence, your H is hypothesis. So probability of hypothesis will be your prior probability. That is what you have assumed. And P of X will be your probability of evidence, and P of X upon H will be your maximum likelihood. So if I want to find out probability of H upon X or H with respect to X, I can find it as probability of X on H into the probability of H divided by P of X. Here P of H is the probability of your hypothesis, which is also called as prior probability, and this is the probability of the evidence. this is the maximum likelihood. So by using maximum likelihood, prior probability and probability of the evidence, we are trying to find out the posterior probability. So if you say hypothesis upon evidence, it is called as posterior probability. If you are finding the sample with respect to hypothesis, it is called as prior probability. So don't get confused. So hypothesis with respect to sample is your posterior probability. Posterior probability has to be calculated, but your prior probability is your assumption. So this is your prior probability. So I hope you are able to follow. So you have to note this. Posterior probability is got by likelihood multiplied by prior divided by evidence. So if I say, in this case, your posterior probability is h upon x. Likelihood will be x on h. Prior probability of the hypothesis is ph, and probability of evidence is px. So I hope you are able to follow. So I have taken up few examples in order to make you clear understanding about the Bayes theorem. For example, this is the statistic given. Okay. So the problem goes like this. A doctor knows cold causes fever 50% of the time. So the probability of cold causing fever is 50%, which means 0.5, right? Because this percentage has to be calculated into the scale of 0 to 1, because your probability can have value between 0 to 1. How will I convert 50 divided by 100? That is 0.5. So, or half is nothing but 0.5. So the probability of this would be 0.5. Then prior probability is already given. Prior probability of patient having cold is 1 upon 50,000 will have cold, which will influence fever. And prior probability of patient having fever is 1 on 20. That is 1 on 20 people having fever may also have cold, and 1 on 50,000 people can get fever after cold. So that is what you mean by prior probability. So this data is given. What they have asked, if a patient has fever, what is the probability he or she has cold? So we have to find out probability of cold with respect to the fever. So the formula is probability of cold with respect to the fever is your posterior probability. So for this, what is the formula? It is your prior probability multiplied by probability of cold divided by probability of your fever. So here probability of fever with respect to cold is nothing but 50%, right? So 0.5 into 1 by 50,000 divided by 120, 0.00002 is your probability. So what will be your class label? So the class label or the hypothesis is evaluated to be false, because this value is nearing to 0. All right, 0.0002 can be approximated to 0, which means that the probability that patient may get fever after cold is say 0%. So it may end up with cold only. It may or may not lead to fever. That is what you are getting from this particular example of your Bayes theorem.